Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Welcome to the Fly With Us podcast. This podcast is bringing the art of conversation, self love, self care, mental health care and protection, life lessons, love lessons, and everything in between. I'm Lady Bounce,
And I am Picket Fence.
and today we're going to talk about strength during times of weakness. Sir Pickett, you have the mindfulness minute for this week.
Yes, it's called Said and Done. I do everything that I can to ensure a good outcome for all those affected by my decisions. But at a certain point, I recognize that I must let go and let my actions speak for themselves. There comes a time in any situation we have said all we have to say and we have done all that we have can do. At that point, we have to let go and trust that our efforts will be enough. We send our sayings and doings into a general flux of people and events. We wish our actions well and send them off into the world. In the same way, a mother bird must eventually watch her chicks leave the nest. We don't have the guarantee of success, but we do have the guarantee that our actions take on a life of their own. They become like independent agents as their efforts unfurl. Are you hanging on to a situation that now has passed out of your control? Name these places in your life where you have trouble relinquishing ownership. To help you let go, you might use a simple phrase like, I have done enough. Practice releasing each place where you feel clingy and tense. See if you can put each thought to rest and dwell in this moment. Word up.
Wow, that was pretty powerful. And that leads right into our special guest today. Dr. Taylor is an author, she's a life coach. Let me see. She has her own conferences. She's a woman doing her thing out here in these healthy mental health streets. Dr. Taylor, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Lady Bounce and Picket Friend. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
All
Thank
right,
you
so
for
one of the
being here.
things that you talk about in your platform is healing from childhood trauma. So, what are like the top three things that we should be doing to help us heal from childhood trauma?
Okay, I'm trying to set up my camera here. Maybe I need to set up. How does this look to you guys?
You look fine.
Okay, because I'm
That's
trying to
good.
make sure that I'm not looking down too much. Okay, is this okay?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
I'm gonna speak from experience. Healing from childhood trauma sometimes take longer than we can imagine. And one of the things that I have to do is I have to keep reach out to God. Because sometimes where I think that I'm healed from it, I might see the person who offended me, who hurt me when I was younger, and then the anger just builds back up. So I repeatedly have to go to God. And then another thing that I have to do is keep reminding myself that I didn't do anything wrong. I was the child, they were the adults, and they did something wrong. So I had to put blame where blame belonged and stop, pointing it to myself. Because as a child, what are you really thinking that will cause you to go to like sexual abuse? When I was a child, I wasn't thinking about sex. So when that happened to me, it was like, what did I do? So I had to put the blame out of my zone, stop blaming myself and put it on the adults because that's where it belonged. Another thing I had to do was just keep telling myself, I love you, Eurita. I love you. I love you. It was so hard because when as a child and you go through stuff, you blame yourself. What did I do wrong? And then you start to hate yourself. Man, I had done the most stupid things. So I had to keep telling myself, I love myself. I love myself. And believe it or not, out of those three, that was the hardest for me. Me learning to love myself and believe that I'm worth love because the stuff, it just happened to me and I just couldn't get past it because I kept thinking that I did something wrong. So those are the three things that I had to do.
I like that. I really like, about we talk about loving yourself and telling yourself you love yourself with the positive affirmations. And I have to say, for me, that is something that's really hard to do. But why is that so hard? You know, if you look about it, you can tell your spouse you love them, you can tell your children you love them, but when you cannot look in the mirror and tell yourself, I love you, I love that person
Yes.
that's looking at me, that takes a lot of work. So what kind of work
Yes,
did
it
you
does.
do, around telling yourself, convincing yourself that you love yourself?
I had a counselor one time, her name is Danielle. She told me, write it and put it on my mirror, put it on my car, put it every place I look. But you know what? That doesn't work. Believe it or not, it doesn't work, because I look at myself and I'm like, okay, let me back up a little bit. One of the trauma that happened to me was my uncle used to sexually abuse me. He used to mess around with me. And so it happened at a time where I wasn't exactly a woman yet, a young woman yet. I didn't transition over to womanhood. So what I did was I started hating my body, because I had just started developing, breasts and hips and butt and everything, and that happened. So telling myself that I love myself just didn't work. Putting the notes on the wall and everything didn't work, because in my mind, he did that because my body was changing. So no matter how much I tell myself, okay, Eurita, you love yourself, I love you, it just wasn't registering because the body was still there. So one of the things that I did was I went to the gym, and I used to work out 5 days a week doing Zumba because I was trying to get rid of the body that I thought made that thing happen to me. Because I'm like, if my body didn't change, that wouldn't have happened to me. So I started to work out. I used to take hydroxy cuts. I used to take all kind of diet pills and everything to get rid of the body. And some days I still don't even like my body. If someone look at me and they're like, oh, you have such a nice, oh, I love you, here's anything, then it takes me right back there. So every day is just a process. But one of the things that did help me to learn to love me was when I wrote this book. When I wrote this book, it changed so much in me, because that's where my healing started. And what I would tell people is, when you're struggling to love yourself and you can't say, just write it down. Write how you're feeling about you, because writing is such a medicine. It just frees your mind, because it's your words, and maybe nobody will get to read it, but you yourself is writing and reading what you say. So that's, I could honestly say, was the point where I got to, where I could really say I love the person that I am.
I like that. So we talked about that before, about writing and being cathartic and being helpful. So what I want you to do is hold that book up in the camera so we can see it real good, and let's talk about that book. Let's get into it. So the book is called His Strength and My Weakness. That, first of all, that's powerful in itself. So tell us about the book and the title and how it all came about.
That book started as my dissertation. I have my PhD in Christian counseling, and it was my dissertation. And when I was writing my dissertation, I was trying to write it however I want, making me look really good. You know what I mean? Nothing ever happened in my life. My life was so perfect. I had a silver spoon in my mouth. And God gave me a spanking. I'm telling you, I went through the worst time possible, because that was his way of telling me, speak the truth. Because the truth wasn't paved in gold. It wasn't this beautiful picture. And so I didn't do it for my dissertation. But afterwards, I started to heed that call, you know what I mean? Turn it into a book. It was just on my mind constantly. And then when I turned it into a book, I still was trying to leave out some things out of it, because here I am, I'm saying his strength in my weakness, but I'm not showing his strength. I wasn't. I was showing, I was writing a story that was reflecting a woman who went through struggles. But when you read it, you will say, man, she could do all of that. She did all of that. So I wasn't really giving God the glory that he was supposed to get. So what happened now, things just keep continuing to happen to me. because I wasn't learning the lesson that I was supposed to. I wasn't tapped into what this title really meant. So then it was a publisher, and he didn't even publish my book. I sent him the story, and he said, your writing is good, but you need to dig deep inside and bring those feelings out from inside of you. And the feelings just wouldn't come, because I'm still trying to, in my mind, I'm doing what God said to do. He said to turn it into a book, I'm turning it into a book. But now I still won't take that extra step where he's saying, give me the glory. Show people what I did for you, because then they could know what I could do for them. And so when the publisher said that, it took me a while to get it. And then when I finally got to that place where I understand what he was saying, I cried. I did some crying for days, and it was like something ignited inside of me, and I just became this crying 1 minute, angry the next minute, because it was stirring up all the hurt that was inside of me. And so the title, let me back up a little. The title came to me as I was sitting in church one Sunday. The pastor was preaching, and the title came to me. And the whole title came as I was sitting there, it came in pieces, and then I had to brainstorm a little together. And then I said, that is what I need to do. God is using different people to get to me. The pastor and the publisher, I need to pay attention. And so I revisited the book, I put my feelings in there, and I wrote exactly what happened, how I got down on my knees, and God brought me through it, because that's the testimony, my testimony, that he wants me to use to help others, to show that no matter what we're going through, no matter where we're at, he can bring us through it. Because my life was a mess. Oh, it was a mess. I have gone through a lot of things, but you see, I'm hard-headed. That's part of the problem too, because he's telling me to do things and I wouldn't do it. I'm trying to do it my way. So he's saying, you know what, my will is going to be done in this woman no matter what I do. And so what I did was I started to listen, and I had to get over the shame, because I was very much ashamed of the things that I had gone through. My dad hurt me, the uncle thing. I thought my mom didn't love me, and it was a lot for me to deal with. And so God had to wipe that shame away from me. And when he did that, it was like I was transformed into this total different person, that now I could tell my story and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not. So my story really in a nutshell is, no matter who you are, no matter what you have gone through, once you give God a chance, he can turn that around, and you won't have anything to be ashamed of, because he already washed that away. He already washed our sins away. He already know that we're not perfect. He already know an auntie hurt you, a mother hurt, your father, whatever. He already know what have been done to you. And he's saying, come to me, I will make you whole. And that's what he's doing for me. He's working on me every day. And he's showing me it's his strength in my weakness. And he can turn that around and use it for me to help others.
I love that. So, man, that was so powerful, because I've had those moments where I thought that I was walking in my purpose, and I thought I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, and God said to me, wait a minute, sit back down, because you didn't get the whole lesson. You misunderstood the assignment that I gave you. So sit on down and get some more of this here teaching, and then you can go out into the world. So I definitely know what that's like. And growing up as a child in church, and having, a praying mother and a praying grandmother and grandpas too, I definitely understand that. Sometimes you just got to sit down, be quiet, and get out of God's way. Because we say, oh, I'm going to give it to God, right? I'm going to give it to him. And then we still try to hold on to it. And he's like, I ain't tell you to handle my business for me. So I think that's really, really important.
Yeah.
So you talked about being raised by a single mom. What was something that was missing from your life as being raised as a single mom? Like, what was it that you just craved that just wasn't there? Like, just one or two things.
Okay. Here's the truth about that. My mom was married. My dad was, they were married and he was home. But really and truly, I was raised with both parents in the house. But my mom was the one who was always doing everything. For food to eat, it was her. For clothes, it was her. to make sure that we get our homework done and everything. But I'm a single parent. I got divorced when my third son was in my stomach still. So speaking on my son's behalf compared to my life, I grew up with a dad not being, I won't say he wasn't there, but he had no idea what was going on with us. He didn't participate in the things that we were doing. He didn't contribute financially at times because he was angry with my mom. But compared to my boys now, even though my dad was in the house, their dad wasn't in the house. And so they grew up without a man figure. There was a man figure in my life, but they didn't have that male figure in their life because my ex-husband here went back to New York. So I had the boys totally by myself. Even though he had custody, he didn't come and get them. So they grew up without that man figure, without that father nurturing, that father bonding type thing. They grew up without that. But it's still the same like mine. My dad was there, but I still didn't get that either. He had no idea what was going on with us because he was just busy working and doing his thing. So it's like, okay, what was the difference here in the picture? He's there not participating, and then my children's dad was not there. So it was kind of like the same thing in a sense. But I missed that. I missed, you watch television or you listen to your friends and they have their dad in their life and they talk about, doing things with their dad. I didn't have that. There were times when I was much younger, we went fishing. At one point, I used to go fishing with him, but then that stopped after he hurt me, because after he hurt me, there wasn't much I could do after that. So it was really growing up and, not having a dad there. And, sometimes when you're going through things with the husband or the boyfriend, some people say, I'm going to call my dad. My dad going to shake you up a little bit, I didn't have that. But one thing he did do, he made sure we go to church every Sunday. Every Sunday, he made sure we were in church, whether we were sick or whatever. It doesn't matter. We had to be in church every Sunday.
Pickett, you got something? You like you was about to say something. I thought you was great. You look like you was going to say something. Like you had a powerful, burning question there. Okay.
I think his mic is still messing up.
Yeah. So when somebody's coming to you and they say, Dr. Taylor, I'm a mess. I can't reach my breakthrough. I can't push past whatever this is in me. When you're searching for those words, how do you find those right words to get somebody to get to a breakthrough?
One of the things I always do when I speak to someone on that level is I always pray. And most of the times I know ahead of time that I'm going to be doing that, because I don't do one-on-one counseling. I try to stay away from that. But if someone is trying to reach out to me and they said, okay, can I talk to you? I'd be like, okay, let's talk at 3:00. So I'm aware of that. And I try to pray, because quite honestly, without God, I can't do what I'm doing. Christian counseling is different from secular counseling. Christian counseling, we are counseling people based on the word of God, based on what God is telling you. And you have to have that discerning spirit and be able to listen to him, so he tells you how to handle other people. Because you can't just go in there and say, well, you know what? Okay, you made that mistake. That's your mistake. Live with it. And then I'm going to contact my doctor to get you some medication. There's a difference. You have to tap into that spiritualness, that reach out to God. And that's what I do. I always try to pray before I meet with someone on that level, to let them know, you know what I mean? God, I need you right now. I need you to give me the words to speak to this person. I have spoken to someone who was suicidal, and for that, I really had to pray to God and wait until I hear from God before I spoke to that person. Because when a person gets to that point, they're saying life is not worth living. And you have to be careful what you say to a person in that capacity, because then You don't know what you could say that could tip him off, but God knows what to tell you to say. So prayer is a very big part of being a Christian counselor, just as it is for being a pastor, a minister, a deacon. Prayer is a very big part of it. And that's something that I have to do, and in order to be able to speak to people, because sometimes I don't know the words, but God, he shows up and he tells me what to say.
I like that.
Thank
So
you.
let's I have to ask. So you say in your book and in your in the dedication to your book, which you dedicated to your mom, which is really beautiful and really sweet,
Thank
that you
you.
can appreciate the ups and the downs from your life. How did you get to that point where you can appreciate them both?
Once again, this came about in my writing, and not it started in this book, but it was when I wrote my second book, which is not yet published. Because here I am, and God is getting ready to transform me into the person he wants me to be, to fulfill this assignment. And there's still a lot of work that needed to be done in me. So what happened, I got to book 1, and book 2 is coming up now. And now he was getting ready to teach me some things, because one of the things that happened was me and my mom, we didn't have a very good relationship at all. We really didn't. And we just couldn't see eye to eye. We're very much alike. I'm telling you. But you know what? God had to show me that. So when I wrote that dedication, it was because God had shown me the person my mother was and still is. She's still alive. Thank God she's here living with me now. God showed me who the person that she is. And he showed me her struggles. I kid you not. He showed me the things that my mother went through, and I cried. And I'm telling you, I was so heartbroken because I didn't realize that. And it's in book 2. When you read book 2, it will tell you, God is asking me, how do you know that she didn't love you? How do you constitute love? Because you didn't get everything you need, or because she didn't say, I love you? Now, the funny thing about it is that I've been living in the US 30 plus years. Do not guess my age. Let's stay friends here. Do not guess my age. I tell you that all the time. And one of the things that I learned here is how to say, I love you. I have a friend of mine, he lives in Michigan, and he used to tell me, I love you all the time. And I wouldn't say it back. And we're just friends, but that's the type of person he is. And it took me forever to get to that point where I could say, I love you, and felt okay with it. So I grew up, and because my mom wasn't saying, I love you, and I got spanking, I'm like, she didn't love me. I blamed her for everything that happened to me. So when I wrote that dedication, is because God had worked on my heart. He showed me the person that my mother is, her hardship, the struggles she went through, and how she had to work hard to take care of us. And then he showed me my life. Then he showed me my life compared to her. But the thing about it is that when I was younger, my mom was like, you're not going to finish grade school. That I used as a motivation. And I still hated her for that. But you know what? God showed me. My mother didn't mean it that way. What it was is she herself wanted to finish school, but never got to finish. So you see, what it was she was at some level living her life through me, because we're very much alike. And God had to show me that, you know what? Your mother loved you. When she was on that couch sitting, waiting for you guys to come home from church activities, that was love. When she got up 4 o'clock in the morning and cooked our breakfast, lunch, and dinner before she went to work, which she was walking for miles to get to work, and then come back home and try to make sure our homework is done, our hair is braidy and everything, that was love. But I couldn't see that. So God had to open my eyes to see that her sacrifices was because she loved us. And when God did that, it tore my heart. It tore my heart. And I said, God, I just want to be able to see my mother again before her or I depart this world. And my mother today is 2 weeks. She's here with me. So why wouldn't I want to praise God? Why wouldn't I want to tell people about him? Why would I want to hold on to my shame and not spread as well? Because he answers prayers. My mother is here with me. That, I'm telling you, is a miracle from God. Because remember, I told you, I grew up and I didn't love this more. We couldn't get along. Give us 5 minutes in the same room, and you're on the war field. And now she's here with me, and we're having such a good time. So dedicating my book to my mom, that's the least of what I could have done, because God showed me this woman and I love her. I do. Had it not been for God, I couldn't sit here and tell you that right now.
I love that. So before we get out of here, so you do something called the Ripe Awakening Tour. What is it? And first of all, shout out to Dr. Takembe Adelikon.
Takumbo Adelikon.
Yes, I never say his name right. I am a non-practicing member of Tabernacle. I haven't been in a while. I just got out of the habit, but we'll talk about that later. So talk to us about the Ripe Awakening Tour. How did that come about?
Oh, we're gonna have to get you back to Tabernacle, because Takumba Delaton is doing great things at Tabernacle. I'm
Yes,
saying
I hear.
every Sunday I tune into his church. He's a great pastor. He's a great pastor. Okay, yeah. So the Ripe Awakening, Pastor Adelicon is part of it. Takumba Adelicon, he's part, and Minister Bridget Charles, she's in New Jersey. She's a part of the team. We have three authors. He wrote this book called The Art of Joseph. Very, very, very powerful book. Bridget wrote this book called No Regrets. That is an excellent, excellent book. What it is we are working together. There's my book, His Strength in My Weakness. So it started out where God laid it on my heart. He gave me the vision to go back to the Caribbean, and the same thing that I'm doing here, do it there, include them, motivate them, do the workshop, the conferences, the seminars and whatnot, including the Caribbean. So it's like, okay, I'm going to do that. And then it went from there where, okay, it expanded. So now I have two other authors on board, and they could be more, but I'm trying to keep it small, because the point is to keep my assignment as real as God wants me to do it. So we formed this group, the Ripe Awakening, and our first conference is coming up December 4th. What we're doing is we looked at the book and we see, okay, the Arts of Joseph, His Strength in My Weakness, and No Regrets. They have some very, profound similarities, because Minister Bridget's book is about her mom's story. Her mom grew up in Antigua, which is where I'm from as well, and the struggles her mother went through as a single parent. There's His Strength in My Weakness. I'm a single parent raising my children. Then there's the Arts of Joseph, who wrapped it up with Joseph, he being in the pit, away from his family. His strength in my weakness, I'm away from my family, and how God took him from pit to the kingdom. That's exactly what His Strength in My Weakness is about. When you listen to my story, you would think, well, she went through all that stuff, but yet still God used me. So now we formed this group and we're doing conferences. Like I said, the first conference is December 4th. And what we're doing is we're trying to make people aware that it's time to wake up. There's the right, you're ripe for transformation. And then you wake up and you be that person that God called you to be, because all of us have a purpose. Some of us, we never tap into that purpose because we get to a place where we're just so comfortable in being who we are. We're making $10 an hour and it's paying our bills, so we're okay. But then, is that who God wants you to be? God promised us riches. He promised us everything our hearts desire. So what He does is He will provide for you, and then He will also work on you to get you to that place where He gets the glory, you get change, and you tap into your purpose. And that's basically what the Ripe Awakening is about. We're doing the self-awareness, self-actualization, so people could be who they're meant to be, so that we could be happier beings, helping each other along the way. So as Takumba and Bridget and I, we get together, what we're doing is we're sharing our stories with others, because God doesn't just bless some people, He blesses everyone. But sometimes some people need a helping hand to get there. So we're going to be doing the conferences, we're going to be doing the workshops, we're going to be doing the seminars, and we're going to be virtual, so everybody could tap in and join. Registration is free. You could register at www.theripeawakening.com. Like I said, registration is free. December 4th, 7 p.m. Daylight Savings Time, which is 6 p.m. our time. Please join it. It's going to be an event to just join into. It'll be awesome.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Okay, and
So,
before we get out of here,
you got it?
please tell the people what you do for self-care.
I am so sorry, picket fence, but I have to laugh because, oh my gosh, I take care of everyone around me except myself. I really don't. I get very little sleep. I'm
Oh
tired a
no.
lot. And yeah, I know I am really bad at self care. The only thing I can honestly say I do for myself is watch tennis. I said, I'm a tennis fanatic. I get in front of the TV and sometimes I don't want to answer my phone text, and it's my relaxing time. And I can watch tennis for hours. And that's about the only thing. I used to read a lot. I don't read a lot anymore. I used to go to the gym. I don't go to the gym anymore. The only thing, like I said, I do is tennis because I'm working all the time. But I'm so glad you asked me that question, Picket Fence, because now I'm going to put something on my calendar to get up and
Mhm.
go walking in the morning. I used to get my nails done. I don't do that anymore. Yeah, I'm really not taking care of myself at all. Yeah, I love that question. Thank you for asking that. Now I'm feeling guilty to move and do something about it. So I will. I'll get back to taking care of Eurita.
Cool, cool, cool. Let's get into my favorite part of the show. Doom, 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 doom. Brain science, science, science.
All right, so since we're talking about mindset changes, I'm going to give you really quick strategies to overcome obstacles by changing your mindset so you can break through and achieve your life's biggest goals. So, first, maintain your commitment by choosing goals that matter to you. You cannot take somebody else's goal and make that your goal. It has
Yes.
to be authentic from yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So we all know the benefits of choosing our own goals. When we see it, we can do it, we can achieve it, and the rewards from it are much greater because we chose it ourselves, not somebody else telling us to do it. So muster motivation by staying focused on the positives. Attitude is everything, and everything is most
Yep.
certainly about attitude. We all know that even the most capable people fall when overcome by negative expectations. And we've all seen Goliath brought down by those who can remain positive and continue to believe. So find inspirational messages, affirmations, mantras, repeat them to yourself every morning to keep you going.
Yes.
Stay ready by watching your energy levels. Maintain high possible energy. The days when I eat poorly, I can feel it. The days that I eat good, nutritious food, I can feel it. There's definitely a different bounce or pep in my step based on what I'm putting in my body. So that is important. So you need to become acutely aware of how you're feeling all the time based on what you're putting in your body.
Mm-hmm.
Tackle your problems by harnessing your imagination. According to experts, nothing is more amazing about humans than our incredible creative abilities. So be creative, use your imagination, find a new way to meet that same goal,
Mm-hmm.
and then you won't get bored with your goal. This is for you, Dr. Taylor. Extend yourself more self compassion. Have you ever noticed how hard we are on
Oh,
ourselves?
yes.
We give others a break, but we never offer ourselves the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
When challenges arrive and failures feel close, treat yourself as you would a child or a close friend. Speak to yourself with the compassion and guidance that you would extend to someone that you truly love. Being there for yourself will help you find the inner peace and resolve to push forward in the face of adversity and disappointment. And almost to the end, stop comparing your situation to anyone else's. Comparing ourselves to others can be crippling when it comes to making progress. For example,
Mm-hmm.
looking at our bodies and comparing them to athletes or models is just insanity. And yet, millions of us do it every single day. And many of us give up when we realize that we cannot look like Serena and Venus.
Yep.
The problem with such comparisons is that we see insurmountable gaps in where we are and where we want to be. And that's what makes it so easy to resign and give up. So keep your expectations in your sights and keep them realistic. And last but not least, gain momentum by tracking your progress. It's this simple. What we measure, we can see, we can improve upon. In some cases, measurement is very easy. Tracking our debt or personal income, for example. Others can be far more difficult to track, like successfully holding our tempers or being more present with loved ones. Even so, it's extremely important to measure progress for two reasons. The first is because knowing we're keeping track will help us stay vigilant and focus on the target. Check in regularly with your process and maybe get an accountability partner to help you with your progress. That's just my little caveat. If you can't measure, it's also important because of the human need to quantify results. Nothing is more motivating to continue with something that's difficult than seeing the positive results from your efforts. If you can't measure things quantitatively, try journaling to track how your day went, how you felt, and any progress you felt you made, as well as any obstacles or setbacks you encountered, especially if you overcame them. Few things are more rewarding than consciously recognizing your personal growth, so it's well worth your time.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes, very good.
Stay
Very
motivated to keep reaching those goals. Pray about it. Dr. Taylor, practice that self-care. You can find self-care assignments every day on our YouTube, Facebook, and our other social media pages. Let me see. Oh, we're on TikTok now. So if you're a TikTok fan, we are on TikTok. If you'd like to be on the show, have questions, comments, concerns, you can find us wherever you get your favorite podcast. And you can always email us at flywithusla@gmail.com. I'm your girl, Lady Bounce.
And Dr. Taylor, tell the people how they can get in touch with you.
Oh, I forgot.
Oh, yes. You can follow me on I have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest. My handle is at Dr. Eurita Taylor. That's DrEurita My website, www.taylorcounselingservices.com. And on my website, that's where is that page, The Ripe Awakening, for the conference coming up, where you can register. Like I said, registration is free. Please join in for a virtual conference.
I love it.
Good.
Dr.
All right.
Taylor,
What's?
Oh, you got it? I didn't know. So we want to thank you again for being on the show. Please come back again when your other book is published, because we have to talk about that too.
Yes.
And we're going to post all your links when we post this show. So hopefully we can get people registered for that conference.
Yes. Thank you. Sounds
no problem.
Good.
Thank
I hope
so
to see you and Picket Fence at the conference.
Yes. We're definitely going to try.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. And like we said, you know where to find us, wherever you find your favorite podcast. I'm Lady Bounce. He's Picket Fence. She's Dr. Taylor. And we out of here.
Thank you.